This morning, we are discussing living the true meaning of Christmas, and we're putting in the spotlight His Grace, Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Port of Spain. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Alive, blessed, and highly flavored. How are you?
What kind of flavoring are we talking about?
I mean,
Come
the best kind, Trinbagonian flavor.
All right. Well, that is flavor.
How are you doing this morning?
I am doing really well.
All right. So we're in the season. We're in the
Yeah.
season of Advent.
Correct.
Yeah, as we prepare for Christmas.
Correct.
Can we start with what the true meaning of Christmas is as far as Catholics are concerned?
You know, coming on here, one of the people on the floor said to me that their child asked them, where does this word Christmas come from? So I think we should start with that.
We could start with that.
So it's an old Middle English word that dates back to 1038 or so, that comes from Christ Mass, which is the Mass of the birth of Christ. And the Mass, the liturgy, the celebration of the Eucharist, for the birth of Christ gives its name to the celebration and to the feast.
So, okay, this leads me to lots of questions, right? Because, I mean, when we talk in the history of it, I'm very curious about, so who would have had the first Christ Mass to celebrate the birth of Christ?
Well, the first one would be in a stable in Bethlehem.
Well, right.
Way back in the day.
But was that a Mass?
No, but
So-
that was, well, it was a Mass in the sense that was the heart of the Mass, the Eucharist,
Right.
which is Jesus Christ being present.
Right.
And that was what we had.
Right.
But they would have been having the Mass, but it got its name in English from the fact of having a Mass for Christmas, or having the Mass for the birth of Christ. So that's how it gets its name. And it's just to say how the event and the liturgy of the church are so intertwined that you can't really understand why we do the things we do if you don't understand the liturgy and you don't understand the event that the liturgy is depicting and celebrating. It's all deeply intertwined.
Of course it is. So let's go back then. So the pre-Christmas celebration is Advent. Tell us a
Correct.
little bit about the reason for Advent and what the process is of celebration.
So Advent are these 4 weeks before Christmas, and it's really your remote preparation and your immediate preparation for Christmas. We read readings of hope from the prophet Isaiah, and Isaiah is called the fifth gospel because it really speaks to the coming of the Christ. And if you want to see all the prefiguring of Christ coming into the world, Isaiah is where you find it. And the church focuses on all these wonderful passages of the promise of a Messiah, a Savior, God's deliverance, all these things coming into the world. And then by focusing on that, it prepares our minds to remember that back in the day before Christ was born, what the people had was the hope and the longing that Isaiah would have given to them. And that hope and that longing before, at the time of the birth of Christ, people for 100 years or more were longing for Messiah and expecting a Messiah to come anytime around then. So when he actually comes, it's a climax to a very long period of longing and waiting. So Advent is a season of waiting in joyful hope.
Okay. All right.
So they had a couple 100 years to wait.
Yeah.
We just take a 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Just a 4 weeks
And
to
we
wait.
find that too hard, you know.
But we're still able to find the joyful hope because
Yes.
we see people bustling around. We see people going to church and doing the rituals that they're required to do. But in terms of the actual celebration, so all right, after the 4 weeks of Advent, you wait in joyful hope. And then you celebrate.
The last week of Advent,
Right.
which starts on the 17th of December,
Which is the week we're currently in.
is the most immediate week now.
Right.
And the church has a special liturgy from the 17th to the 24th of December. And in that liturgy, the focus is laser focused now on the coming of Christ.
Okay.
And then in the evening prayer, you would have what is called the O antiphons. O Adonai, O tree of stock of Jesse, and all the names of Christ in each of these evenings, which brings forth one of the words or the desires or the longing that the people of old would have had for the coming of the Messiah.
Okay. So we laser focus for this week, and then we celebrate.
Christmas Day
Christmas
comes,
Day.
and the birth of Christ comes. If you look at all the traditions around Christmas, I mean, you wearing a hat there. That comes from St. Nicholas,
Right.
who was a bishop.
Right. And he used to give out lots of presents and stuff like that.
So why do we give presents at Christmas? You ever asked that question?
It's not because the wise men brought presents when they were coming?
So the wise men brought presents when they were coming,
Right.
first. But second, we received the best gift that humanity has ever received. In the gift of the birth of Christ as Savior. God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son. So the total love of God is given to us, incarnated in this little babe as gift to humanity. And so we receive the best gift. We give gifts to others.
Now, in terms of giving gifts to others, right, as far as the church is concerned, are there inappropriate gifts, or is it once you give something from the heart, then you're good to go? Because that's the essence of it, is that love, that sharing, that community.
I suppose any illegal object would be an inappropriate gift. You asked the question.
I did. I suppose.
I'm running through my mind and saying a 9mm would be very inappropriate.
It would be. I understand what you're saying. But we're not objecting to gift giving.
No. And that has been part of the tradition. Unfortunately, the Christmas has now become so commercialized that people stress out so much on Christmas. They're taking loans to buy gifts for Christmas, which makes no sense at all. Long time, people would make cookies and bake cake and do little craft and share not just things, but themselves. The idea of a gift is you are invested in the gift of the other person. It's a demonstration of your love for this person, and so it's not really about the money. Sometimes the most beautiful gifts you get on a Christmas time are not the most expensive gifts you get.
And sometimes they're intangible as well. Somebody showing up, coming to visit, that kind of thing tends to be somebody better presents.
Or somebody makes a little something, and when you see it, you just light your whole heart up.
Yeah.
I mean, as children, sometimes you receive all kinds, and it's the little stupid thing that you get that captivate the child's mind.
Sometimes it's the box that the thing comes in.
The box get kicked around whole day.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing get parked aside. But it's really an investment or demonstration of my love for you, the person receiving the gift. That's really what it is, because it's a demonstration or replication of God's love for us who have received the most precious gift that God has ever given.
Most definitely. And I think it's important for us to emphasize that, to remind people about that, because like you said, people get so busy now. They're hustling, they're bustling, they're taking loans, they do all these excessive things to be able to celebrate Christmas, when in truth and in fact they're missing the whole idea of what the season is all about.
They stress themselves out, and when the day comes, they can't enjoy it. Total stress. No, not worthwhile. Not worthwhile. And that's the commercialization of Christmas, which I think the stores realize, this is a peak season for us to make money. So the advertising, everything is geared to get you to get a better, more expensive, more exclusive, more whatever gift. And no, that's not what it's about. It's really about you giving yourself to another person and demonstrating that in some tangible form of a gift. And that doesn't have to be expensive.
Now, I want to get into the nitty-gritties, because in every territory, Christmas is celebrated a little bit differently.
And we are very different.
And we have our own very special, unique
very
twist.
different. We are very, very different.
Now, how does the church view our version of its celebrations?
Well, we have a lot of wonderful things. So during this week, the most immediate week, there's what you call the Aurora Masses.
Right.
So like St. Mary's Mokorapo has a 6 o'clock mass. And if you go down there now, it's full, eh?
Right.
It's full. I was there on Saturday. Living Water has a Aurora Mass at 5:30.
Right.
And during the Mass, you see the light coming slowly, slowly. And it's the whole remembrance that it is the darkness to the light.
Okay.
So the Aurora Mass is a big part of it. One of the things the Archbishop has done since the time of Archbishop Panton is visit all the prisons during the Advent season. So last week, I went to 7 or 8 prisons during the week and interacted with the prisoners, listened to them, heard their plight. give counsel, hope, presence. You know, it's a most amazing moment in the Christmas season.
Can I ask about some of the things that you would have learned on that journey? Some of the things you would have experienced?
Yeah. You know, poverty is a crime in Trinidad.
Poverty is hell, shall I say?
Well, yeah, no, but it's worse than hell, you know. It's a crime. There are people whose only crime why they're in jail is poverty. And how can I say that? You get arrested or you get charged for a crime and you don't have bail. You're put into remand yard. By the time your case comes and you get, let's say you get convicted and you get sentenced for 4 years, you've already spent 8 years in prison. Poverty was a crime for the next 4 years. I think we could do better than that as a society. I think we could do plenty better than that. The Mercy Committee in this country has not met and has not pardoned people. And we have people on life, convicted of life, and we have people in prison for 43 years. There's no sane country that doesn't have a definition of how long life is. 22 years to 25 years is the usual when a man gets convicted for life. And at that moment, you check and see what they have done. And if they have ready to be reintegrated, you reintegrate them back into society. They pay their time. But to keep a man 43 years on prison, by the time he is released, if he's ever released, he's unfit to be reintegrated. He's too old. And he can't be reintegrated at that stage. So you hear stories that are heart-rending of people, you know, someone who, their crime, they were going to drop somebody into Port of Spain. And the child with them started to fall asleep. So she came out the taxi and took a taxi and went back home. And when she reached back home, her children had marijuana on the compound. And a whole hoo-ha went because she was in the house. She's the owner of the house. She gets arrested and now she's in jail for how many ever years. I mean, you hear really heart-rending stories that, you know, are difficult. But that too is part of the Christmas, because he came to set the captive free. So that is part of it. Another thing, tradition I've had in the Christmas time is we would do hampers. Like on Sunday, we were in Beetham and Sealots, the 3 areas in Sealots doing hampers. Just meeting people and sharing the Christmas story, sharing the Christmas message, but sharing tangible gifts that will help the families through the Christmas time in a really difficult time, in a really difficult year. Those are some of the Christmas traditions that I like to focus on. Now, I know you're talking about the pastel.
Well, I mean, that's part of it. No, but that's also part of it, right? Because I know that we have different things that people do. I know people go out and feed the poor all the time, especially around Christmas time. So that's part of some of the traditions that we do. But the lemon and the sorrel and the punch creme and all that is also part of what we do. You like ginger beer?
Garlic pork.
All right. All right.
Garlic pork.
I hear you listen.
Sorrel. These pastels. We have these things that when I was a child, they only turned up in Christmas. A bake ham. They only turned up at Christmas. Now you can get any of these things all year round. But they were so specifically Christmas that you longed for Christmas. I mean, I remember seeing the fruit in a glass jar on the top of a shelf, out of my reach, soaking. And from the time that gone up there, I know that Christmas is coming.
What a great way to identify it. Well, let me thank you so much for joining us, and I want to wish you all the best for the season and for the new year. Merry Christmas to you and the entire Archdiocese. But before you leave, I need you to wish Trinidad and Tobago Merry Christmas. Just look into that camera over there and give them some hope this Christmas.
Happy Christmas. Remember, this is a time when Christ is born and when in the midst of darkness, the true light comes into the world. We are feeling a kind of a hardness right now, both internationally and locally. And we're feeling hope being difficult. I want you to remember that hope is not optimism. It's different. Hope is the belief that God is here and God is in charge, and that we could trust the promises of God. And that He sent His Son in the world means that we could trust Him even more. So this Christmas, whatever is the circumstance, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're experiencing, remember that you put your mind, your heart, and your trust in the Almighty. And in putting your heart, mind, and trust there, you believe and you hope because you know that God is true to God's promise.
His Grace Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Port of Spain, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And to the staff of TTT, the staff of this show, Merry Christmas, many, many blessings, and a new year filled with all God's promises.
Thank you so very much. We take a quick break and come back with more on the Now Morning Show. Stick around.